Oh, okay.
All right.
We're going. Oh, God. Hold on, I got it. I'm still cracking mine. Oh shit.
Mine exploded everywhere.
What's up,
shit,
everybody?
hold up.
Welcome. Oh shit, it's on my fucking screen. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Engineers Up Filters podcast. I'm your host, Jacob Thompson. So Joseph and I, before the podcast, we went to our local brewery because they're still open, and we got some growlers, which are how big are 32 ounces?
32 ounces. It's half a growler.
32-ounce cans.
Or 2 pints.
And they're fucking huge, and they just exploded everywhere. But I'm drinking a Dangerous Man chocolate milk stout tonight. I'm very excited.
And I'm Joseph, also drinking a Dangerous Man, but this is the Pink Plum Milkshake IPA.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
Massive ass can for those that can see.
I'm Gabe, and I'm being less sophisticated with the Miller High Life.
Hey, it's the champagne of beers.
It is.
Champagne
Yeah,
of beers.
you don't fuck around with it.
So the can tells me.
Yep.
So
And
the marketing says.
And I'm Dayton, and I'm drinking Truly Lemonade Hard Seltzer. So
Okay,
it's
on
Mike's
the-
Hard.
it's like Mike's Hard Lemonade, but with no 1 gram of sugar.
All right.
So
Is it,
it's-
the real question, is it better than Press?
No, it's not. It's all right. It's all right though. I would probably still continue buying Press and probably even Bud Light Seltzer over this, just because this has got a lot of taste. It's very like offending to the mouth. I don't know how to
Like
better
it's too
put it.
much.
Yeah, I think it's like too much. The flavor tastes kind of fake. But you know, I'm happy to try it. Happy to add it to the list of Seltzies I've had.
This sounds...
It almost sounds like you're an expert in it, Dayton.
Whoa. We're not there yet. Don't spoil the topic. Right? Now, Dayton, I want to have you know, before me and Joseph went to the brewery, we stopped at our local liquor store or corner shop that has a wide liquor selection. We're like, let's get us some goddamn Press. It said on their website they have it. We go in, and guess what? They had it, but it was all cleared out. It had been just raided.
And
The people
rightfully
know.
so. Rightfully
people
so.
know.
Wow.
But the guy said they're getting some, like 15 cases in tomorrow, so I'm going to go back and try to snag some.
He was walking past us right when we were talking about it too. He's like, "Oh, is there something you need?" And we're like, "Press." And he's like, "Tomorrow." And we're like, "Fuck."
You guys will not be disappointed. I guarantee it.
You've hyped it up. I mean, just the ginger orange.
It's
God damn, that sounds
ginger
good.
pomegranate. I think I checked the can.
Oh, you lied to me, you son of a bitch.
Well, I didn't. Well, all right. Would it be technically a lie or would it be a mistake on my part?
It's still live. You don't know. No, that's not true
It's
at all.
it's a mistake, but it just dashed my hopes of how good.
Yeah.
that
So
is.
I think it's lime, lemongrass, pomegranate, orange, blackberry, hibiscus, and fuck, I can't remember the last one. I don't know.
We'll find out next week if me and Joseph can get some.
Yep.
And if we don't drink it all before then.
Well, you
That's
need to
true.
get it tomorrow though when it comes in.
Yeah, Thursday is a long way to make it,
That's true. Maybe
Yeah.
we'll just grab like 5 cases.
especially when you're like staying inside as much.
Yeah,
As...
I've got work off tomorrow because it's Good Friday. So like, you know, I'm about to get turnt tonight. Corn.
I should work tomorrow, but I don't have to. I'll fucking get there tonight too, baby.
Woo.
I have to get up at 6.
Poor Gabe. Gabe's the
No,
only one that has to
sorry.
work tomorrow.
Wait, you have tomorrow off, Dayton?
Yeah, dude.
Fuck you guys. You know, someone texted me today and like, you have tomorrow off, and I was like, no, why would I? I didn't know it was a fucking holiday. And
It's
it's
Good
like,
Friday. Easter's this weekend. Happy Easter, everyone, because it's
Yeah,
after Easter when you guys hear this.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
the Easter episode. That's not gonna be about Easter at all. Fun fact: I've been playing Animal Crossing for like a week, and I have to reason there's an Easter event right now. It's called Bunny Day, but like there's just eggs everywhere. Like you try to catch a fish.
I heard they're bad.
Spoiler
though.
alert: it's an egg. Yes, I'm saying it's just ruining the game, so I'm just not gonna play because I went to this egg shit. We're out of there.
Yeah, I saw a couple tweets about people being pissed they got eggs, and I'm like, it's gotta be
Because
a
all
bad-
you can do with them is craft egged like shaped
Related
furniture
thing.
and clothes, and it's like ugly,
So
you know?
it's an event type
Yeah,
of
it's
currency.
all that. Yeah,
It's like Rocket League's event currency.
Mhm.
yeah. So get that shit out of here and get your ears over here because this is the Engineers That Fantasy podcast, episode 64. All right, it's your boys. You can find us every Monday on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, and Google Play at that 8:30 a.m. Eastern time. And you can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at EWF Podcast. You can follow us on Twitch, which we're live right now, at EWF_podcast. Hit that follow button, find out when we go live, come into the chat and just dick around. We probably have somebody monitoring the chat.
Talk some
that
mad shit.
Do we? I don't even have the.
I mean,
stream
me
I
and
on.
Dave
I have
are-
it
are
I have it
watching.
up because I'm running
Okay.
I'm running it right now.
That's true.
So yeah, let's get into the show. All right. So this topic came to me on a night that's been happening a lot recently, where I go down a YouTube rabbit hole. Okay. So I don't know if you guys are familiar, but there's a new show that came out on Hulu called Dave. Okay. And I heard it's good. It's about Little Dickie. Okay. Now, Lil Dicky is somebody who I've heard of, but I've never actually listened to his music. I'm like, who is this guy? All right. So I go searching Lil Dicky, and I find a bunch of his YouTube videos, or music videos, and they're fucking amazing. Lil Dicky is hilarious. Shout out to Lil Dicky. Go watch his stuff. Joseph and I have been watching his videos.
He's a rapper,
Top tier.
isn't
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like a hip hop guy.
he? Yeah,
right?
like
He's a rapper, but it's kind of like comedy rap.
yeah, like I think I've heard Pillow talking.
Yeah,
I
that's a
haven't
good
heard that
one.
one yet, but
So is he like a Weird Al but like hip hop?
It's more like the Lonely Islands, but hip hop.
Okay,
yeah.
that's a good analogy.
Look up Lemmy Freak. That song is.
Oh, I've heard
That sounds
song.
familiar. I
freaking
think
hilarious.
I think
It's
Yeah.
so
Let me
funny.
freak.
I mean,
yeah, I've heard that.
he
one.
was-
Yeah.
I mean, all his singles came out like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
But this show is kind of like autobiographical. Anyway, heard it was good. Watched his videos, liked them. Then, because I was getting recommended, or I was watching music, I got recommended music podcasts and videos and shit. And I went down the Anthony Fantano rabbit hole. If you're not familiar with him, he's a guy who does music reviews on YouTube. He's massive. He's got like 5 million subscribers or something.
Mm.
He has a bunch of like album reviews, song reviews, yada yada
Is
yada.
that the bald guy?
Yep, bald guy.
Yeah,
He's
I know
friends with
that.
like Jack's Films and like Nikki Jakey and
Yeah,
shit.
yeah.
I'm like, I know this guy. I watched some of his stuff. Went down that rabbit hole, and what I discovered was, okay, so before this whole thing, I thought, I feel like I have a pretty good taste in music. I feel like I know some stuff about music. I feel like I could talk about what I like and why I like it, yada yada yada. Then I hear Fantano go off about all these albums and talking about all this intricate shit, and I realized I have no fucking clue when I'm talking about music. Like I'm not an expert at all. I'm not even close. Like I felt dumb watching all of his reviews. So I wanted to talk about tonight. What do you think you are like an expert in? Expert, obviously exaggerating. Like what do you have? I feel like you have a base of knowledge in that you could talk about, and what do you definitely don't, but maybe would want to? You know, so that's where I kind of wanted to go off here. So for me, like music is something that I thought I had an expertise in. Realizing once I heard expert, I don't know jack shit. And honestly, I don't really care to go into. I don't really need to know anymore. Like now that I know that person exists, like that seems like a lot of work to like appreciate a bunch of different types of genres. You know, like
Mhm.
I can't really appreciate like the weird ass electronic music that Dayton's into, like the really like on the edge shit,
Mm-hmm.
or even
Going
some.
with horse neighs.
Dude, that's the good shit.
Dude, I came across a song today that had a cartoon like animation sample noise, like
Like
the
the
one.
running noise.
Yeah, yeah, where it's like the scrambling. Like,
Yeah.
it had that, and I
That-
like lost my shit when I heard that.
See, I like those kind of samples, Dayton, but like everything around it, like some of the songs that you like, I'm just like, what is this even considered music? Like I know it is, but it's just fucking weird, you know.
It's on the border of having a rhythm, even.
At least you're honest about it.
Some of
Uh,
the stuff is very. It's an acquired taste.
So, Dayton, do you feel like you have an expertise in music somewhat, or
No.
not really?
No, not at all. No, I don't know. I feel like I can pick up things and like I can like like hear different parts and like why they're doing like the different things and like the songs, but being an expert in it, like no, because I feel like in order to be an expert in it, I would probably have to, at least for myself, to be able to say that I'm an expert, I would want to be able to produce music like that.
Mm.
And because I can't produce music like that, I would not consider myself an expert. So I think it's probably one of my goals to start producing music like that, just because I enjoy it so much. But I guess I just don't know if I'm definitely not there yet, but I hope to get there someday. Yeah.
Yeah. And that brings another thing we'll get into later is like, is it true that those who can't do like teach or whatever, it's like you have to be able to like walk the walk, but we can get into that later.
I've heard a saying, it's like, you don't really know, like, proof that you know something is if you can explain what you do or what you're doing to a 5-year-old. Like, if you can dumb it down enough so that a 5-year-old can understand what you're saying, you know what the fuck you're talking about.
Yeah, I like that.
Which I think about a lot, because it's like, there's times where like I'm having an issue, like even if it's at work or whatever. Usually it's at work, and I'm like, how do I have to phrase this so they can understand what I'm saying? I got to get my thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what's something? Oh, go ahead, dude.
I've used that to like make sure that I actually know what I'm talking about for like classwork. Like when I was still in college, like if I wanted to, test myself, I would just be like, okay, so how can I explain this to like someone who knows absolutely nothing about this, knows nothing about, science? Like what if I just like picked out some like one of my random relatives and had to explain this to him? Like how would I do it? So
So I have a perfect
teaching. That's like explaining it to somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
Like I did that a lot in my anatomy lab, where it's like, okay, I get this, and it'll help me remember it if I tell you about it. If I like teach it to someone else.
Yeah, so I kind of have like a perfect segue for that, because I feel like the thing that I'm good at, and it's not gonna be a surprise, is like computers. Like that's just the thing that I am, right? But if I had $1 for every time someone asked me something about a computer, or what bit or what aspect of it, I guess, does what, or me to explain what I'm doing, I mean, I wouldn't need to have a job. Like there's just a lot of times where, and that, I mean, even if it's just like, helping out family or helping out friends, and there's some people that are very computer illiterate too, so it's like, gotta learn. I did it for a couple of years as a computer repair in college, so I definitely know a lot more than I did 2 years ago. But even to say expert is like a bit of a stretch, because it's always evolving. There's always different things going on. Like even now at my job, there's like so much. Like you can just keep going deeper. Like it's an endless rabbit hole, and at the end of the day, the smaller and smaller you go, it starts getting to like electrical engineering. It's just like, I don't know what the fuck. Like as far as like,
and then once you go past electrical engineering, you get to materials engineering.
Honestly, you honestly do.
So I wouldn't say that like I know all aspects of it, but I'm very good at figuring out issues relating to like operating systems or like hardware stuff with like normal PCs.
Yeah. So you have to have that background knowledge to be able to like be a good problem solver even.
Right. Yeah, and it's just I do a lot of you were stepping away, but there's a lot of like explaining you have to do to people to understand, so they understand what you're trying to do.
Yep.
Or like why you're seeing an issue, because there's multiple levels, right? There's the hardware, the software. BIOS is its own thing. It gets messy real quick. So.
Yeah, being able to sift through that though and figure, okay, here's like the nut of what's important and how do I communicate that? Because like there's like the sub, like the nut of the issue,
No,
you never heard that expression before?
I've never heard that before.
I think it's like an analogy for like trees or something.
I've heard it before.
I understand it, but I don't know that I've heard it.
I think like the root. I've heard the root.
That may be more apt. The nut is definitely an expression. Gabe's with me on this.
He's just trying to expand tree analogies, all right?
But I was leading to is like there's a subreddit explain it like I'm 5,
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Ask a question. It's like, okay, I don't need to know the deal. Just tell me how this works in the most simplest terms. And sometimes there are people who are really good at explaining it, and people who are like very smart and maybe an expert, but they do not know how to sift through that data and like filter and just give like the easy answer. So that's like another like skill into itself. But you have to have that full knowledge first before you can start
Yeah, I think sometimes it kind of comes, at least for me, it's like scope creep, where it's like, all right, I'm gonna explain to you what this is, and it's like, well, that's because of this. and then that's because of this. But like, do they really need to know about those things? Like,
Mhm.
probably not. So I'm just gonna tell you, this very basic thing, right? Like,
Yeah.
sift through it.
Joseph, hit me with something that you're good at.
That I'm good at?
That's you're an
Oh,
expert in.
geez. I would think probably the things I'm most knowledgeable. I can think of 3 things that I'm most knowledgeable in. And it's going to come
Show
as a
off.
huge surprise. Blueberries, snowboarding, and then like obviously my degree like mechatronics type stuff.
Yeah.
So like controls engineering, which is what I do. I would say those 3 things that's what I can talk about probably the most, and what I can actually could explain to people and have explained to people.
Are blueberries actually a berry?
Yeah, I forget exactly the classification of a berry,
Sounding expert to me.
Hmm.
but it has to do with it's a fruit from a single ovum of the plant. So like,
Wait, so then
shit.
an apple would be a berry?
Yes, avocados are berries. I want to say bananas are berries. Pineapples are not. I
Is
don't
that
think
true? I'm gonna Google is apple a berry.
I I I could be wrong on an apple.
So then what about I thought I had to do something with like the seeds.
No,
Like the
no, it has
the
to do
seeds
with
being interior versus exterior? Oh.
no, that's a crock. The only
That's a crock of shit.
the only fruit with the seeds on the outside are strawberries.
That's I was eating some strawberries and then I was eating some blueberries earlier this week at the same
Yeah.
time, and I was like
Just double fisting them.
and I was just like, this is a berry and this is a berry.
I think
But then like I was
strawberries
noticing
might
the,
not actually be a berry. There
see
is
that
one of
that's
there's
what I'm
one
thinking.
that's like a something berry. I forget if it's strawberries or raspberries, but they're actually not technically a berry. And I want to say it's strawberries.
Just because their seeds are on the outside.
No, that is not. But
Now, Joseph, would you say like you're an expert in blueberries, like in farming?
well, okay, so technically there's a difference between farming and growing, and I don't know that much about farming. Farming is vegetables. Farming is when you have to replant every year. Growing is when you actually raise the plant. So like any fruit, like apples, you don't replant apples every
Yeah,
year, but you replant cucumbers, tomatoes. So that's farming because you're farming the land versus growing the plants.
So
Gotcha.
it's like perennials versus
Annuals. Yep,
annuals,
that's
yeah.
exactly the difference.
Okay.
Okay. So would you say you're an expert in growing then?
I would say yes. I would say agriculture with a focus in growing. Because like I do know some things. I would say more than the average bear about like farming, but
That's what we're talking about. It's like
The
more than the
average
average person.
blueberry.
yeah. Um, but yeah, I would say though that I could talk people's ears off about blueberries.
What about snowboarding? Would you say like the
I would say I'm an expert in like actually snowboarding. Like I
like
couldn't
technique?
teach, but yeah, technique. Like I go down expert terrain, so and I can handle it pretty easily. So
What about snowboarding equipment?
I know a good deal. Like I worked in a ski shop for 2 years. So like I worked on like I mostly set up like rentals and shit. But like you still have to know quite a bit about the gear and I did some like waxing and tuning and stuff, but
It's interesting you bring that up, Dayton, because like when I was envisioning this topic, I was envisioning like an expert witness being called to court, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah.
we need an expert on blueberries. We're calling in Joseph the Grand Champ. But you wouldn't get called into court for being an expert level snowboarder. But that is
Yeah.
another like
But
word,
yeah,
right?
I would say that like
Yeah.
my skills, I have expert level skills on
Yeah.
that in that area.
Yeah. Okay. And then your degree.
Yeah, like my actual job where it's like robots and shit. Mostly because most no one knows jack shit unless you're in the field. Like relative in the field, I'm a fucking idiot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
I was gonna say because like you haven't been in that field for very long. Like honestly, compared to your other two expertise, that's your
I
least
say
like.
I've pretty much I grew up on a farm, and I've been skiing since I could walk, basically. So,
Yeah.
I mean, those are the two things I've been doing the longest, and then robotics is what I'm most interested in. So, kind of all fits together.
It's a triangle, trifecta.
It's a triforce.
When I think about my expertise, they are not very useful in the real world. That's what I've come down to. So, one thing I would argue I have an expert level knowledge base in is the video game industry, because I listen to gaming podcasts like every single day. Like and I haven't missed a day in like what 7 years, probably 8 years maybe. Like I'm very I don't know why, but I love hearing about the industry, knowing what's up, knowing who the developers are, who runs each studio. Like I could give you like names and dates for, well, not dates, but names on a bunch of shit of just things that aren't useful to me at all, but they're just fun to know. Um, and I don't even know if I could give like necessarily good opinions on things. Like if you ask me like, what's your opinion on this? I could probably just regurgitate some other opinion I heard, but I would argue I have like an encyclopedia like knowledge of like the ins and outs of the game industry. And then on a similar vein, I would argue we were talking about this before the podcast, but like I'm really, really good at remembering actors and actresses' names, and I don't know why. Like I'm just really good at it, and like it's similar to the game industry where it's like it's just fun. To me, it's just fun to know that stuff. I don't know. It's like a game. It's kind of like growing up, you play Pokemon, and like to me, it wasn't even like the battling or like playing the game, which is like memorizing each Pokemon and like what it does, and what type it is. I think it's kind of like an quote unquote adult version of that, where it's like okay, it's fun for me to know who this actor is, what he's been in, with who, all this sort of stuff. So I know I'm the king of like if you say a movie, I'd be like, oh, I've heard of it, haven't seen it. Like I just know a lot of things, but I wouldn't necessarily say I practice what I preach because I don't play that many new games and I don't watch a ton of movies, you know. But I still like know all of this stuff. So it's kind of weird. But to me, it's never gonna save my life or anything. It's not that practical. I'm never gonna make money off of it. But it's just fun to know those things. So that's
See, you were truly born in the wrong era, because if you, let's see, what was it in the, you have to, don't quote me on this, but I want to say in the 90s. Yeah, in the 90s. There's a show called 7 Degrees or 6 Degrees to Kevin Bacon.
Yeah,
And they give you an actor or an actress, and you had to connect them through movies to Kevin Bacon. So like they gave you Johnny Depp, right? So you'd say Johnny Depp was in this movie with this person.
Yep.
And this person was in this movie with this person who's in blah blah blah, and you had to bring it to Kevin Bacon.
I feel like you could do it in a lot less than 6.
There's a website where you can put in your name and find your degrees of certain people. Like
yeah.
You can do that now.
I mean, my friends and I used to play a version of that in like road trips where it's like, yeah, I name an actor, the next person names a movie that actor's in, the next person names another actor in that movie, and you go until somebody can't go anymore. And I was really good at it, except my friend Perkins, so maybe he's not listening, but he could match me, and it was always really annoying. I'm like, God damn it, he watches more movies than I do. But yeah, I don't know. I love that shit, and it's just fun to know, and like I said, not super practical, but that's kind of, and then I guess I don't even know if I would say I'm an expert in my degree, like materials engineering, because like I'm not gonna do it anymore. Really, it was. I still have some of that knowledge, but like I never felt like an expert while I was doing it. I felt like I was good at school. We've had that conversation before on here. Like Dayton, I don't know if you feel the same or different, but it's like, especially like when you're in college and even when you're in like the first year or two of it being in a field, like I feel like, and something as wide as like engineering, I feel like you can't feel like an expert for a long time. But that's just me.
I feel like because of the nature of my work, I have become more. I feel like I've like fast tracked becoming an expert basically because my field is so niche.
Yeah. You
so,
specialized.
Yeah, I'm very very specialized. So because that's, I would say like 50% of my job duties are like just like general like engineering tasks or whatever like that, and then like the other 50% I'm like specialized in corrosion. So naturally, like I'm increasing at a greater rate than someone who's just like doing corrosion for like 25% of their job. So yeah, I think to answer your question, like I've I've definitely I definitely feel like I have like an expertise, but it's not as much as, someone who's been in the field for, like 5 years or whatever. But I'm definitely more confident in my abilities than I was when I first graduated.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess, yeah, one last thing I'll say before I go to you, Dayton, is as far as like a skill level, I feel like this might be, hopefully it doesn't sound boastful. I feel like I have an expert skill level at problem solving. Like, I don't know why, but I feel like I'm really, really fucking good at solving
I mean, I would
problems
hope that
and
I would hope that all people who have
engineers.
graduated a 4-year program in engineering would consider themselves an expert in problem solving, but I don't think that's the case.
Yes, based on
Because
some people we graduated
C's
with.
get degrees, and everyone knows that.
Yeah. I feel like I'm really good at working within a box, which maybe sounds like a weakness to some people because like think outside the box, but to me, like I'm very good at working with inside of a box. Like you give me the tools and like I can figure out the solution. Um,
Mhm.
so I would argue that's one of my expert skill levels. But Dayton, let's go to you. What are you an expert in?
So I was thinking about this, and I was I was initially thinking of like, what are my hobbies? Because I feel like in most cases, I'm the type of person to really just like dive into a hobby, commit like a shit ton of time into that hobby, and then kind of just like put it on the side of the road and forget about
Get
it and
burnt
drive
out.
away. Like, so I think I think I would consider myself uh almost like a jack of all trades versus like an expert in a lot of things. Where like I have a high level of knowledge, but not quite like an expert level of knowledge.
Hmm.
Um, Mainly because I think that kind of goes back to like my own like personal philosophy of um, like it's easier to get to like 80 or 90% than it is to get to 100%. Like that last like 10% is just like diminishing returns. Um,
Yeah.
and I don't really see the point of getting like that last 10% when it's not going to be applied nearly as often as like the bottom 90% is. So if I had to pick though, I think it would be like backpacking equipment, specifically ultralight backpacking equipment.
I damn
Um,
hope so, Dayton.
I I know a good deal about that, um, and I feel like that's like the strategies of that kind of coincide well with materials engineering. Um,
Hmm.
Except I think specifically, I would not say that I'm anywhere close to being an expert materials engineer, but I think I have a high level of knowledge in specifically with seawater corrosion of metals. Um,
You were doing some of that stuff back in before you graduated with your senior
mhm.
design project or your
Yeah,
enterprise project.
yeah, and that was more with polymers,
Yeah.
um, than metals, but yeah, and I think like I wouldn't say even like mountain biking. I would say maybe I have like an intermediate knowledge in mountain biking, mainly because I just do it as a hobby. I'm not trying to race and secure a sponsorship or anything like that.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, like I did some like self reflection and really like I'm just like yeah, I just have like a decent knowledge in like a lot of different things.
Hmm.
Like enough to
What
like
about
help people with it, but
what about woodworking?
even that, like I would still say like it's pretty basic. Like sure, like I can throw some like something like that looks good together, but compared to like the artisans and shit like that, like I'm
Yeah.
nowhere
Two
I'm nowhere even
channels.
close.
You're not doing
Well,
like
So
the
yeah, you're
chainsaw
also
sculptures and shit.
23 years old. Like, you can't expect we
right,
can't expect any of us to be like true experts
right,
compared to people who've been at it 2 times as long as we've been
yeah,
alive.
yeah. But even so, like there's people out there that are way better at woodworking than I am, and are currently either like younger than me or whatever. But also, that just goes back to like my philosophy. Like I've spent my time in like so many other topics, um, than just woodworking, and I
Yeah,
kind of admire like the people that can just like delve into like one topic and that like becomes like
true
their
line.
only focus. But that's not for me.
Yeah, it's
So
funny, Dayton, because that's my answer too. And the only reason I would say like the computer world is just so fucking vast. So like saying I'm good at computers is true, but like anything else, I know a very general sense. And same with my hobbies. Like I think I've talked about on the podcast before, but a very similar um, philosophy as Dayton, where it's like if I do try and learn something, I look at like if as far as hobbies go, I guess I look for like the amount of happiness I get out of it, and that first 80% is a lot of fun for me, and that last 20%, I'd rather spend doing to learn something else because I don't find it as applicable or nearly as enjoyable. I find like I kind of hit like a wall, and I just like I can't dedicate myself enough to like want to be that 100% because there's other things I want to learn. Yeah, I had to spend twice as much time to learn the last 20%.
Yeah,
I feel
yeah,
like
it's
I
just
have to invest
diminishing
more time in it.
returns.
Right, like exactly, it's a diminished return when I could be learning something else. So I have a pretty good basis of knowledge on a bunch of like random shit, but like Dane said, I definitely like admire those people because I just every hobby I try and get, I'm like maybe this will be the one that'll stick with me forever, but it's still I hit that wall every time, hit that 80%. I'm like, oh, but this seems really cool to learn, you know, like I'd want to go do this, and I've been trying the last couple of hobbies to just try and see if I could just spend that extra time on that last 20% chip away. It's just so hard for me to do. I'm sure there are some people that look at me and Dayton and our philosophy and like, man, I wish I could just get up and try something else, right? I'm sure there are people like that, but in my head, it's just like, I don't know. It's just kind of, I'm not that person to do one thing.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know. It's weird.
So speaking of doing one thing for a long time, Dayton, I would argue they're an expert in Rocket League at this point. How many hours do you have in that game?
Here's the thing, Dayton.
You want to answer that on camera?
close to 1,000.
Dayton, you're comparing yourself to the people who've been at this way longer. Jacob and I are saying better than the average person at this. And I would say within that range, you are an expert at a lot of things. You are definitely an better. Have you seen most people that go camping? They call it glamping. All right. Your ultralight shit, my bullshit camping gear, way better than most people's camping gear. Like that is what most people would consider expert.
See, Joseph,
Like,
but if I went out with my ideals of camping gear, people would look at me and they'd be like, "Look at this guy who just fucking strolled up here in his trash bag." Like, I would not get the respect of an expert if I showed up there with my expert opinion, because there are different opinions on that, and I realize that there's different opinions. So I'm specifically like within the ultralight.
If you want to specialize. That's I'm not an issue with that. I have an issue with you. Like you are an expert in Rocket League. I'm not gonna accept any other answer because you have 1,000 hours in that game. Like
yeah,
you're top 20%.
I'm like top 5% or something like that.
Yeah. Okay, so get the fuck out of here. Like,
yeah, I don't know. It's just like for me, like when I consider like expert, and like I understand like what you were saying, Joseph, with like the people, like I'm comparing myself to like the people who have like been at it for like their entire lives, and then you and Jacob are comparing it to like the average person. Then like compared to the average person, then like I'm probably like an expert at a lot of things, mainly because the average person doesn't have a lot of the knowledge that I have, just because a lot of my interests are kind of either like niche or they're just uncommon, I guess, which is the same thing as niche. But so Rocket League, sure, I'll consider myself an expert in that.
I don't know. Go ahead.
What, Gabe?
I was gonna say, when I got the text this morning, I thought, okay, what do you know better than anyone else? That's how I took it.
Yeah.
If I'm better than most.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I wanted to clarify, because again, we're 22, 23 years old. We're not gonna know anything.
We're not experts in anything.
Yeah.
All right. So what if we normalize it and say, what are we experts in compared to people our age?
Okay.
That would have made a lot.
Not being fucking idiots by social distancing.
Well, Let me turn this on its head. What are you definitely not an expert in? Like, where's your
Oh my
maybe
god,
like a
dude,
blind
there's so
spot?
many
You're just
fucking
like
things. I'm a dumbass. Like,
something that like you that you
That we
might
should be,
you should
or
be, or like you feel like you want to
There's
be.
so much I don't know, dude.
Like, is there anything that's like nagging at you? Like, man, I wish I knew how to do that, but I just,
Every time there's something I don't know how to do, I think that, Jacob.
Yeah. I'll
Like,
start.
man, I wish I knew how to do this.
I'll start. To me, I am the least handy person you could ever come across. Like, I don't know how to do anything like in a house. Like, I don't know how to fix any pipes. I don't know how to put up a fucking painting. You know, like woodworking shit.
put a pole on or a hook on the wall.
Any like this is a little bit off, but like anything to do with cars, I have no knowledge, like absolute none. Like I'm either calling Dayton or I'm googling it. You know, like I have absolutely zero knowledge of anything handy. It's something where it's like I wish I had that knowledge, but I didn't grow up in like an environment where that was like encouraged. Like my dad doesn't really do any of that stuff, and so it's just like it would be a lot to like learn that now, and I wouldn't. I could just always just look it up or call somebody. You know.
Mhm.
So it's annoying to not know that stuff, but I also don't have the drive to like learn it, you know.
Right, and I don't know. When I think about it, I think about it. You know, this is my engineering side coming out. I think of it as like that time is the currency, and you can convert that into knowledge, and depending on like who you are, like you can choose to spend that currency in different areas. And Jacob, you just haven't spent that currency in those areas.
Yeah.
So I don't know, like I
Well,
feel
and
like that's completely normal.
the other way to think about it too is like, yeah, like you said, there's only so much time. You can only spend so much time learning so much. But I like to think of it as a lot of the time, like college, right? You're spending all literal money and time into
Mm-hmm.
this one thing so that you can become something that someone else doesn't want to do or like wants to specialize in something else. So like you learned, I mean, obviously you're not following materials, but you learned to be a materials engineer
Yeah.
so that someone else didn't have to, and you have the money to pay someone who knows shit about cars.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. My dad, he fucking loves cars. He works on them. He worked on them all the time when I was growing up, and I didn't give a shit. Like, I hated it. I just, like, I don't, or I didn't hate it. I just didn't enjoy it. Like you could see like the fire in his eyes, I guess would probably be like the term I like to describe. Or like he just loved working on that stuff. And to me, it was just kind of tedious. And I did. That's not to say I didn't learn it. Like I didn't learn anything because I definitely know some basic stuff.
Yeah.
Like I
3D
know how
fusion.
to. Yeah, I know like the very basic shit. If like my car, the battery dies, the tire goes out, like basic maintenance, changing the oil, all that stuff. But I'm not like my first car. My dad, we bought a Firebird with a broken engine. He bought an engine. He's like, "Oh, let's go replace it," and he just like fucking replaced it in a weekend. And I just like, how the fuck do you even like? It just blew my mind that like
Yeah.
that was something not only that he enjoyed because that just seemed like a lot of fucking work, but also that he like knew how to do. Which I mean, again, the internet exists, and like he spent that time learning that skill, right?
Yeah.
So that he could save that money or use that for his enjoyment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. One story I think I've told before on the podcast, but maybe I'll tell it again if I haven't. Is that I was in New Zealand, and my friend decided to buy a car to save money, and so we found one on like some website, and we go meet the guy. And it was me and my friend Levi. Levi like knows a bunch about cars. I know nothing, right? So we're looking at the car, and Lee was like, "Yeah, let's take a look and see how it's going." So Lee was like looking at shit, and the guy's like standing there. I'm like, I can't look like I'm an idiot, right? So I'm just like sitting down and like, yeah, and just, like,
It's a car.
looking at random things. And
Kicks
Levi's
the
like,
tires. Oh, they're rubber.
yeah. And, we finished it. Lee's like, "What do you think?" I'm like, "Looks good to me." I don't know. And he's like, "Well, there's this, and this, but we're probably good because we have this." I'm like, "Yep, whatever you say, man." Like, I'm just here to look good,
Dude, Jacob,
and like,
it's funny. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt
no,
you.
no, I'm done. Go ahead.
Okay, it's funny that you mentioned that because I was actually just thinking as I was doing some routine maintenance on my mountain bike, I think like last weekend or something like that after I got done riding, and I remember thinking back to when I bought my bike like used in what would that have been like 4 or 5 years ago now.
So that was second year.
I remember
Yeah.
you picking it up because you stopped by Northern's campus.
Mm-hmm.
It was 3 years ago.
It was second year. It was
Yeah, it was
end of
second
second year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because didn't you drive down to
4 years.
Marquette to get it?
Yeah, I did. But I remember like going down to look at it, and like I was a brand new mountain biker, right? Like I had mountain biked for like maybe like a year at that point. And I was just like, I just know that I want a better bike because I can already feel that I'm gonna get into this, and like I should probably get a better bike if I'm gonna be riding a lot more. And I didn't know anything about mountain bikes. I didn't know anything about bikes, dude. If you asked me how to change a tire, if you asked me how to take off the chain, if you asked me how to like fix a chain on it or anything like that, I would have been like, dog, I don't know, man. Like, fucking go ask someone else.
Have you heard of Google?
But like yesterday, or not yesterday, like this past weekend when I was doing maintenance on it, and I was like working on like my shocks and my fork, and just like kind of like tuning them to like make them work a little bit better for me. And I was just like, dude, if I ever buy a used bike again, like I know like exactly what to look for, and I know literally when I bought this bike, I literally hopped on it, did a quick lap, and I'm like, yeah, looks about right.
It rolls.
Probably gave the guy like $1,200 in cash and like freaking rolled out of there. Like,
Yeah.
God,
That's surprising you didn't know anything second year, because I would have assumed you'd been riding for a long time. 'Cause by third year, you seemed like an expert to me, because I was going to you for help on stuff with my bike.
Yeah,
at
I
that
mean,
point.
by that point, I was riding quite a bit, so
Yeah, 'cause you
I was
did like a
picking it
race
up.
that following summer.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, the race you did,
Yeah.
wasn't that Bohemia? Or was
No,
that was the mine?
that was the
Top nine.
Adventure Mine one where we
Yeah.
rode through an old mine. You had to wear
Yeah.
headlamps and shit. That was cool.
That's crazy to me.
I don't know. I found that this kind of go back to your comment, Jacob. I found that a lot of times you can make people think that you know what you're talking about just by responding to their comments in a particular way. Like I've noticed in a couple of my internships, there'd be shit I had no idea what's going on, and he'll just kind of like they'll be talking out loud, and I'll just like chime in when I need to, and then like he knows what the fuck he's talking about. There's one time
Yeah.
like towards the end of the summer, he's like, "Yeah, you just really know your stuff." It's like, yeah.
It's like,
All it is just knowing when to chime in
I
on
was like, you're
certain keywords.
an active listener,
Exactly.
which honestly is kind of hard to come by. But
Because a lot of times though, you're especially when it's like a problem, you're talking out loud to get ideas or to just hear it out, right?
Mhm.
So just I found doing that, it's not. I feel like I'm tricking people, but you can definitely make people think you're way more competent than you are.
Dude,
Oh, yeah.
that reminds me of this tweet that I saw a while ago. It was like, I feel like half of the meetings that I go to, you can make it seem like you know what you're talking about just by placing a well placed. Yeah, it's just all about finding the right balance. And like, just like say like stupid buzzwords like that. Like Gabe, like if he's like talking, he's like, yeah, like I think really what the root cause here is we really just need to replace the turbo encabulator because the flex is all just messed up, and you're just like, right, yeah, I think that's probably a good idea, but have you thought about this too? And like, if you just say that, then like, people will definitely think you're an expert.
Right. Yeah. No, it's a lot of like, they'll be like, man, so this issue and this issue, and it's just like if I have a general understanding, it's like, oh yeah, I've heard that this can be a problem, but I know this could also be an issue, and they're like, oh yeah, I didn't think about that. It's just, those are just two things I generally know what they are. Like I know what the acronym stands for. That is it.
People who always think you're an expert are your parents. And if I had a nickel for every time I got a phone call, fix some shit, on some tech shit, like Joseph.
Yeah.
I tell you what, one-eyed Joe brings me up. I got an issue with the transformer.
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you, Dad. He's like, tell me all these issues, and I'm like, it could be this. Like, this is what it sounds like. He's like, yeah, I got that far. I'm like, okay, that's like, I don't know what more you want from me.
When it's funny, like, I assume my brother is like similar to me, like he knows about like technology, but he really doesn't. That's not his fault. He just isn't really not interested in it. So even like basic stuff, like my mom will call me. She's like, "Hey, how do we like do this with the TV?" I'm like, "Doesn't Sam know?" She's like, "No." I'm like, "All right, well, I guess I'll, tell you." But it's like,
guess I'll look it up for you.
Yeah,
That's what it always boils down to.
Yeah, but that's not even within our own age group. That's like a generational thing. Because we
I
used
don't
to
know,
work with that
man.
stuff.
I get fielded a lot of how do I update my computer questions all the time.
Yeah, I guess that's a good point. I guess the four of us are maybe an exception because we all built our own computers and like we know.
Yeah.
We're all
You know,
Right.
tech-based people.
I mean, I think almost all of us, actually, I know all of us have had people ask about computer like hardware, like to build computers. You've had
Mhm.
friends who like, hey, I'm
Yep.
trying to build this. What do you think? That's very
Yeah, but I
So-
still wouldn't say I'm an expert in it. Like
But that's it's
I
all comes down
picked
to
8
time.
different components, right? That all
I went
that
to
one website.
PCPartPicker.com.
This website told me these components fit together, and I put the blocks where the blocks are supposed to go, and then
that's
I
the thing,
plugged it in.
What Dave was saying earlier, it's like it all comes down to time. Like, yeah, like I didn't know how computers worked or how to build a computer at all, and then I'm like, I decided I wanted to do it, so I looked up
Mhm.
shit and I figured it out, and now I feel like I have a working knowledge of
Right.
that stuff, and it's fun. It's fun to have that knowledge.
Yeah.
You know?
It is. It's very useful. I always have it though when people do message me and I don't know what the answer is. The first thing I do is Google it. I just be like, well, it looks like a common issue. The solution is this, or
Yep.
it looks like someone
Dude.
found an answer doing this, and then they're like, oh, it works. Like crazy, dude.
Dude, so a
Insane.
couple months ago, there was a huge internet shortage. Not shortage, outage. Internet outage
Oh, okay.
in Minnesota.
Internet shortage. We're out of internet.
Okay,
Actually,
you're not to clarify. Like there was an outage, like in a geographical area, or
sorry.
like websites were down.
It was Comcast was down. Like
Okay.
it was a nationwide thing. Comcast was down. People could not get online. I'm like, I was at work. I work with a bunch of 50-plus-year-old people, so they don't know what the hell's going on, right? So I'm like, interesting. Our internet just went out all of a sudden. So I like Google some stuff and I find out it's a Comcast thing, and I look at some message boards and it says, oh, it's a DNS server issue.
I was gonna say it sounds like a DNS issue.
And I'm like, wait a second. DNS server. Gabe knows about those. He taught me about DNS servers. I'm like, because it was just after Gabe, you had to like write those instructions for how to change your DNS server that like for your class or something.
Oh yeah, I made you do it.
You made me like actually like learn how to like, or at least read those instructions on how to change your DNS server. I'm like, wait a second, it's all calling back to me. So I Googled it. I'm like, oh yeah. So I like changed the DNS server on my computer at work and it worked. And I'm like, oh
Hell
shit.
yeah.
And I'm like, hey guys, I fixed it. And they're like, what? So I like fixed everyone's computer. Like, you're a wizard. Like, how'd you do it? I'm like, it's not that big a deal. And then my coworker was like calling his friends, like, yeah, this guy at work fixed it. Here's like the code or whatever.
Here's the code.
I just never figured out how to search it. Like, great that I had
That's
some
awesome.
original knowledge, but it's like from you, Gabe. It was just like,
Right.
it was so funny.
I mean, that's really what a lot of it comes down to, is just knowing what to Google, like knowing how to filter the information effectively.
Oh, 50% of my job is Googling. If you were to look at my history, like just from today, I probably have over 50 searches of just like, I get an error. All right, how do I fix it?
And you don't want to
Like-
know how many of them are not safe for work.
but
Joseph, is there anything that you wish you were an expert in?
I wish I was more of an expert in my job. Especially, I don't know.
It goes down to that time issue, though.
Yeah, it just
like that'll happen over time.
I haven't been there for quite a year yet, so it's hard to be an expert. But I don't know. There's nothing that's really struck out to me as something that I wanted to be an expert in recently. I do want to get into mountain biking, but it's kind of hard when I can't buy a bike because the bike shops are closed.
You can buy them online.
I could, but then I have to.
You could build it. You could build it. If you buy a Canyon, those come to you, and then you have to put them together.
Dude, I would not.
That sounds really fun. Now you're gonna have to email that to me or send it to me because that sounds okay. Now I'm
email
excited.
that to me. Oh my god, how old are you, Joseph?
I didn't even
was talking
get
to my dad
your
earlier.
email address.
Yeah, can you snail mail that to me?
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I feel like Joseph. I feel like mountain biking is a good fit for you because just like thinking to all the people that I know that mountain bike, almost all of them snowboard, and like I'm kind of an exception in that like I don't snowboard or ski really that much. Like I have, but it's just not something like I do a lot.
I definitely see it as a good combination of a lot of my hobbies where like the outdoors, like I like snowboarding, camping, like it combines that with like my, I wouldn't say handyman, but like technical skills,
Mm-hmm.
where like I like working on machines. I like taking components apart and putting them back together. And
Mm-hmm.
a lot of my hobbies also include that. So I think mountain biking is a good mesh of that.
Mm-hmm.
There's a bunch of trails by us.
I know that's
So
also part of it.
okay, I was gonna say we could literally bike to it.
Yeah.
There's one a mile and a half for me. It's not too bad.
Yeah, I know there is, because when I got here, my bike got stolen. I went to go talk to the front desk about it, and I'm like, hey, just want to let you guys know, like, my bike got stolen off the balcony. Like, oh, that sucks. There's so many good trails around here. There's this one and this one. And this one. Like, yeah, way to
Just
put
rubbing
salt in the
wound,
wound, buddy.
yeah.
Like, cool it. Dayton, would you say that you are an expert or have an expert skill level in doing research on consumer products? Because I feel like whenever you want to buy something, you do research for like 2 weeks.
2 weeks? That's a short time for dating.
Yeah.
Dude,
I don't
Fucking
know.
months.
I don't know if I would say that I researched a lot, and like I go into like a lot of detail with it, and I make sure and consume like a lot of different media on it, like both like YouTube videos, and also I read reviews, and then I also read like blog posts on like the thing that I'm like interested in getting. And then once I get done with that, and like I have it like narrowed down to a few, then I sit on it for like a long time, and then I just kind of like wait, and I'm like, do I really want this? Because a lot of the time what it boils down to is I think I just like researching the like what's like the best in this category.
dude, it's fun.
Yeah, it is. It's
Yeah,
fun.
so,
It's
like-
fun as fuck.
Because like for example, like I had picked up my MIDI controller, right? Like I talked about it. Was it just last week on the podcast that I
Yeah,
talked about
yeah.
it? Yeah. So I had picked this one out actually in like November or something like that. I had done all the research on it, and then basically I sat on it for a long ass time, and then I revisited it back in like I don't know, like March or mid-March or something like that, and I re-researched it from a blank slate. I actually completely forgot that I had researched this. And then I re-researched it, came to the same conclusion, and I'm like, okay, I think it makes sense for me to get this one because I came to the same conclusion. And the only reason I realized that was because I had a bookmark of the product in my browser. So yeah, so maybe, but I also feel like that's not really like something that like there's really an expert in. It's just more time than
Just a
knowledge.
method.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I like that stuff too. I don't have as much like patience as you do though. Like if I want something, I'll like do some research. I'm like, that seems good. And then if I have the money, I'll maybe get it. If I don't have the money, I have to wait. Like right now, there's a few things I'm sitting on, just because I need more money to feel comfortable buying them. But I think you're right though. A lot of that is just the fun of doing the research.
Yeah.
What makes it so fun is there isn't one product that does it all. So it's like, ooh, this can do this and has this feature, but it draws back on this. So then you have to go to this product. And I don't know. That's fun.
Then it's out of stock or not in the right color, and you're like, God damn.
Yeah.
Like, I was doing
I don't know.
backpack research recently, and it's like,
What kind
that's
of
hard.
backpack?
That's the thing. Well, I need a new school backpack because like my one
Oh.
is you see the water bottles fall out of the sides of it. That's the main.
Yeah.
Like everything's like loose on it, so I need like a new one. And I was looking at like comparing like, okay, this one has good storage space. This one has good water bottle holders. This one's waterproof. Yada yada yada. But also like price is a factor and like is style a factor kinda. It's the whole thing. I'm between like a North Face one and one like urban
Patagonia.
looking one, like a trendy, like I don't know, commuter, I guess maybe the right term. But I don't know. It's fun to research that stuff though.
I've been looking at backpacks for a long
For
time.
backpacking or for
No,
just
for like just like an everyday backpack, but I for the life of me cannot rationalize it because I already have
So
a
you
backpack.
just bought a nice commuter pack. I guess it wasn't. That was
It was 2 years ago that I bought it, and like it serves its purpose fantastically, but there's some features on it that I just do not like.
Yeah.
But it's like I don't want to get rid of it because I still like it, but I don't want to have two backpacks, like two
Just throw it
commuter
away.
packs. So
But that's the thing too is like how long do you have to use something before you get the worth out of it, you know? Like if I had a backpack for 4 years, so I'm like, okay, that's enough time. But other stuff, it's like, well, I haven't had this long. should I wait because I need to get the full value out of this thing before I place it?
Yeah, well, I mean, and also like, there's something objectively wrong with your backpack. Like, there's something that's broken with your backpack. Like, it's not like I'm using my backpack and like the zipper's busted on it or something like that. Like,
Yeah.
everything works fine. It's in great shape, and
Just sell it then. Like sell on Craigslist or eBay.
no, because I like it, Jacob.
Well, but if you replace it, you're never gonna use it again. Then you'd be mad for having 2 backpacks.
But how often do you use your backpack?
Not that often, which is another thing why I can't rationalize it.
And that's what I was thinking. It's like I put my backpack against the wall when I moved in here. I think I've touched it like 3 times in the year since I've lived here.
Yeah,
Like
I
my
mean, like,
school backpack.
I
Like I
bring
use
it, I bring it to New York, and like when
Oh,
like
yeah.
I'm traveling places, and I use it when I go back home, and I use it when I go into work sometimes. Like if I'm bringing stuff in or
See,
stuff
like
that.
my job gave me a backpack that I take to work every day. So like I have that, but like the backpack I use for school, I rarely use. I think I used it one time when I went home because it's too small, or like the way it packs, it doesn't pack well for like
I
clothes.
know your backpack. Your backpack is kind of dog shit. Not gonna lie.
It's really good for it's really good for class is the thing. Like
It's too
like
compartmentalized is the thing.
yes, but like I liked it because there was like a spot for my laptop, a spot for books, a spot for notebooks, and a spot for folders. Like I could have all of that separate if I wanted it, and like I liked it for what I got it for.
That's fair.
However, what I want to use it for now, it's not that good for.
Cut out some of those compartments then. Just take an X-Acto.
I'd rather just buy a new backpack.
It's the same thing with you though, Dane. I'm sure you could find workarounds for your feature deficits.
Yeah, I could if I knew how to like sew and shit like that.
Yeah.
Like these headphones, I got new ones 2 months ago, and literally I've looked at them, I researched them for months. I'm like, when I have the money, I'll get them.
Wait, what headphones are they?
The Sony MX 1000 M3s. They're Bluetooth and they have active noise cancellation. Obviously, I'm using the cable because I'm connected. But I was at work and there was a cable connected to my laptop and I kept having to move it. I'm like, nope, that's enough for me. Like that's a reason for me to make the jump. And they're way more comfortable, and I use them every day. And it was like I had those last ones for
you had them for
6
a while.
or 7 years. I think I had them for 7 years. Like the headband was falling apart. They still sounded good. There was no like real reason for.
Were those Audio Technicas that you had?
Yep, they were the
They're
M50s.
the ATH, yeah.
The OG M50s, not the X's.
Yeah.
But
I'm in the market for some new headphones too.
These are fucking
Jacob,
kick ass.
Jacob, do you know how to solder?
I have soldered before, but I don't have any equipment.
Oh, okay. I was gonna
It's
say
super cheap. A soldering iron is like $5 and the solder is like $2.
Do you have a soldering iron, Joseph?
No, but I could buy one at Menards for
and
you call
yourself an electrical engineer.
Yeah, I was just gonna say.
I have one. Jacob,
yeah,
Joseph,
I've not
do you know how many
needed
times? You know how many times I've soldered since I've moved out here, Joseph?
I couldn't care less.
But Dayton, because I'm not talking about like big. I'm talking about like in-ear headphones.
Oh,
like,
never mind then. Because I was gonna say like
ones.
I fixed these. I got these headphones for free. These are
I remember that
biodynamic
like,
DT990s, and yeah, I got them for free. And I decided to install like a female headphone jack in them. So like this is actually like a removable cable, and like before it's usually just like a cable that runs up into it. But now I can like hot swap different headphones in.
Yeah,
it's pretty dope.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm in the market for like just some new workout headphones because my workout headphones are.
Just get the same ones that all 3 of us have.
We all have them.
I don't know. How much
the Terra Pros?
Like, Terra Pros.
One something. I don't remember off the top of my head.
They're almost $200.
But those aren't fully wireless, so they're still connected.
Yeah,
you don't.
You get a way bigger battery because of it.
Yeah. You honestly don't notice it because they clip up behind your back of your head.
I don't know. The ones I was looking at on Amazon looked pretty good.
Which ones were you looking at?
It's been a while.
Dude, so many of the true wireless headphones are terrible.
I've heard they're also really bad with like latency. Like when you're watching videos. Yeah, it's not an issue for music, but if you want to like watch a video, there can be quite a big delay. And I've heard like even some of them they'll get delay from like the left.
I was gonna say you got that other technical issue.
I don't know.
And like the battery too. You get like what 3 hours out of and then like another 10 or so
But
out
the
of the
case charges
case.
it too.
Yeah, yeah, but
But what if you want to listen for more than 3 hours at once?
yeah, what if you're on a plane for 3.5 hours?
I listen to these 6 hours a day.
Computer. I don't shame my research. Okay.
We are already.
I'm not. I'm
there's
just
3 of us
we-
with the same exact ones. We're gonna fucking push you. To
And
get them.
you know who did all the research
Oh,
up front for
shut
those
up,
headphones?
dude.
This
It's-
kid.
I did the
This
same
kid.
research. I just happened to come to the same conclusion. Fuck you.
I did
Alright,
some
well-
research and then I asked Dayton because I knew he had them. And I wanted to know his thoughts on them. If he would do anything different next
How much
time.
were those though? How much were they?
They're like
I wanna say, like,
170.
That's
I
a
think
lot
I
of
got.
fucking money.
I think I got mine.
They're
for
on sale all the
140.
time though.
Yeah, I think
I think I
mine
got him for like 140. Yeah.
Oh, that's a
They're on
lot of
sale.
money.
Dude.
We'll see. One
You're-
thing I am like very confident in my research though is some new shoes I'm looking at. Allbirds. I'm telling you, man, they are exact. Cause I was telling Joseph, I was pissed off because first of all, I don't have a lot of style. I don't know if you've noticed. But my wardrobe isn't like brimming with style. It's a lot of like t-shirts I've worn for the past 10 years and like sweatshirts and shit. But like my shoes are just ugly and they're functional, but like they're just not great, you know?
I don't think I could tell you the last time I bought shoes.
But like I was telling Joseph, I'm pissed because I'm very much function over fashion. But
yeah,
would it kill me to have some shoes that looked good at the same time, that were like comfortable and they look good and they did what they fucking wanted them to do? And I was like pissed off, so I was searching men's shoes. I knew it was gonna be a bunch of like some dumbass like fancy shit, but then I come across the safe haven of Allbirds. They look cool and they're super comfy and they're
And they have
water
function.
resistant
but
They're
birds
fucking
aren't real,
bad.
so how can they make shoes?
and they're fully sustainable. They're made from sustainable materials. Like it's the perfect. It's a trifecta of everything.
The Triforce.
Triforce, and they're fairly cheap, or they're reasonably priced. As soon as I have some money, I'm gonna get me some of those.
I don't know, Jay. The last time I was over there, I had
Whoa.
my shoes on. You're like, those are nice shoes, and they were $4.
Dude,
ridiculous.
weren't they like boots? I'm spacing
No,
out.
they're
shoes.
They're shoes. They're the Sperry style ones.
Oh, yeah.
Jacob, here's what you do. You go to this magical store called DSW. It stands for Discount Shoe Warehouse.
But
And you just look at all these shoes and you go,
that's all a
Oh,
bunch of
dude.
business casual shit I'm never gonna wear. I'm going into grad school. I don't need like fancy.
there's
Dude,
They've
you
got
need to show up. You need to
quite a
show up
few
to grad
different
school wearing
types.
square-toed dress shoes.
Yes.
Have you ever been in a DSW? They have all sorts of shoes.
I've
They
been in a
have-
Payless.
That's
time ago.
not what I said.
Yeah, but it's
so,
also
they're different stores. You can't say it's the same thing.
I thought you were gonna say some bullshit and go to like Foot Locker and get some like
No, Foot Locker
Nike
sucks.
sneakers or whatever. I'm like, that is
No, no,
not
no.
my scene at all.
No, DSW. Though that is the place to be.
Sneaker
As
culture is
opposed-
another thing I wish I had some base knowledge in, but I'm just not cool enough to like know anything about that stuff.
That's so exhausting though, because then you came like the whole point of shoes are for you to walk in them, and they're like, oh, I don't want to get these dirty. Like, I don't know. It's a shoe. That's what they're supposed to do. Fuck you.
Oh,
Yeah.
dude, you just rhymed.
Oh shit.
Ooh, fuck.
I don't know. Sneaker culture is a whole can of worms.
I feel like that just goes with like streetwear fashion too. where,
Yeah.
Like,
Okay, street fashion's not that hard. You buy a Supreme sweatshirt, you're done. All right.
yeah, but like to be committed enough.
Yeah.
But you could say the same thing with shoes. You buy the Yeezys or the Air Force Ones.
Dude,
You know.
no idea.
It's all I noticed was like based on what you wear, people will think certain things about you
Yes.
and often judge you.
Yes.
I wear band tees all the time. I hope they think, hey, that band's cool.
He listens to shit music.
I guess that's another thing just to wrap this up is like fashion. I wish I knew more about fashion because I am not fashionable at all. You know?
I just wear what I like. I don't know what. I like it. It's usually comfy.
I don't know. There's sometimes, Jacob, where I think that, where it's like, it'd be really cool. Like, it'd really, like, step your presentation level up.
Yeah.
But also, it's just monetarily exhausting. Like, it's so
Yeah.
expensive to keep up with trends. Like you said, a lot of the shirts you have are old. Like, you have to get new shirts every couple months just because it's perceived to be obsolete, right? And it's also got to be, like, I don't know. If you feel obligated, or not feel up, some people enjoy it, but I would find it exhausting to have to look like perfectly match my outfits every day. Like, dude, When I wake up, I just see a band tee I haven't wore yet, and I throw it on. Like, and then I go, and I like the shirt a lot. Like, I like it brings me good memories because I probably bought it at a concert. It's a music I like, and it's just.
No, I'm right there with you. I mean, yeah, I
Yeah.
wear graphic tees all the time that I love. It's just
Are
See,
some days I'm
women
like,
going to
well,
find that
that's what I'm
attractive?
saying.
Probably not.
That's what I'm saying. It's like I love this, but I'm looking at the people around me. They probably might think a certain way about me for wearing this. You know.
so
That's
see,
when you throw on the flannel, because flannel's timeless.
exactly. But here's the thing. See, Dayton and I got the edge on this because we both have older sisters. And I don't know about you growing up, Dayton, but my sisters told me what to wear a lot of the time. They're like, "No, you're not I'm not going outside with you. You're going to change." And then
My sisters really didn't. They didn't really
Okay.
give a shit.
See, mine did. And I don't have much fashion sense, but I know, hey, when I was 8 years old, they told me that this color goes well with this color, or this thing goes well with this thing, and I've just adapted that and brought that with me up till now, and I'm still riding that wave. And that's about as much fashion sense as I've got. Is what my sisters used to tell me. So
my hope at the end of the day, Gabe, is this. All right, so I walk up, and this person seems like, all right, wearing a graphic tee, fine. Jeans does nothing for me. Those shoes, though, I like them. And then boom, positive opinion, and then
Nah,
good things
man,
happen.
it's all about how you present. If you're, looking all down at your feet, like looking at your shoes, it's gonna be different than if you're just like, yeah, I'm me,
Well, yeah, you can't look at your shoes because that'll bring attention to your shoes and see how shit they are. You know,
Right.
unless
I was just saying,
unless you're balling.
I was saying at some degree, people can read
as
how
long
you
as
feel
your
about yourself.
clothes aren't dirty
And they fit. That's the big
and
one.
they fit,
They can't
Yeah.
be too big
And aren't like a bunch of holes
or
in them.
too small.
or too small.
You don't want your belly showing when it's not a belly
That's
shirt.
very true. As long as they fit and you're like confident what you're wearing,
Yeah.
people are gonna notice. They're not gonna. I don't know. There's times even like I see other guys like wear a shirt that I would never think would work, like ever. I'm like, that looks really good. And like, they enjoy it. Good for them.
So what you're saying is I need to get a deep V-neck.
If that's what you enjoy,
Dude, you got the chest hair for it. You got the Saturday Night Fever chest hair.
Yeah.
Just really
Honestly,
go
I feel
for
like
it.
I look pretty good in a V-neck. I'm not gonna lie.
Then fucking wear a V-neck, dude.
They're hard to wear in the winter because, well, you only really wear them in the summer because you can't wear a V-neck.
Get a
underneath
couple
something.
summer V-necks.
I got a couple.
I
All right,
used to wear V-necks.
Why don't you
Oh,
anymore?
we all did, dude. That was like the thing in high school.
Yeah.
Really?
couple.
I didn't notice
Yeah.
that. Like,
Oh,
I used to-
yeah.
like
I
a
used to wear
movement
V-necks in high school.
I had quite a few V-necks.
Like V-neck tees. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, there you go. Well, I'm calling it right there. That's our episode. We really ran the gamut, and I liked it. Next week we'll be back with a STEM episode, so get ready for that.
Fuck, I gotta think of STEM topics now.
But
Right,
thank you for
mechatronics
listening.
Expert.
You can find our show every Monday on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, and Google Play. And you can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at EWF Podcast. You can follow us on Twitch at EWF_podcast. Don't know why it's different. I haven't asked Dayton about it yet, but maybe we'll change that at some point.
Probably won't.
Yeah, it's
Thanks
probably
for
not going to
listening.
change.
And we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.